Hey guys, you looking to be successful at your 2018 fantasy football drafts? And we've got you covered here with the 2018 Draft Loadout with information like my guys, bust candidates, sleepers, deep sleepers, rookie splash, value candidates, and even the loadout software with over 10 years of information packed into a software app for your mobile phone, tablet, or your PC. Make sure you head over to thehateful8ff.com, click on the average donation tab, and sign up via our Patreon account.
Welcome, Average Joe Nation from around the globe. Props to you for staying up to date and keeping in the know. Fantasy football, man, very soon you'll reign. The knowledge that these three guys have, man, it is insane. Fantasy football talk, Hateful Eight, they wear the crown. Hold it down, Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli, hold it down. Pulling up to LB Design Studio, we're getting loud. Season 2, headphones on, red light go, break it down.
Welcome back to the Hateful Eight Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, I'm Pickle, and Blackburn.
What's up?
Trimboli.
How'd it do?
How'd it do indeed. This week we will be returning to the segment Run Pass Option for Part 2, and we will be talking about players that we were swiping right or wanting to keep and or draft in every draft that we're going to be in. So essentially the guys, my guys as we'll call it. But as always, don't forget to follow the show's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. Now on to some actual fantasy news and notes for once.
Fantasy news and notes.
All right, fantasy news and notes presented by Body Armor Super Drink, superior hydration for today's athlete. Check them out at drinkbodyarmor.com or your local convenience store. First one out the gate, Rams wide receiver Brandon Cooks agrees to a 5-year, $81 million extension. So
It's a lot of money.
For a guy that's never played on your team.
This is true. I
hope it works.
I mean, you knew when they made the trade for Brandon Cooks and gave up the first round that you knew that there was going to be an extension, I guess. You just didn't realize it was going to be to this magnitude, I guess. I mean, he's making essentially, I think, maybe a couple more $1 million than Sammy Watkins is in Kansas City now.
Well, they dumped that Tavon Austin salary.
This is also true. I guess I forgot about that. But, I mean, he's definitely another weapon for Goff in that offense. Now, fantasy relevance, I think people are, from ADP-wise, people are still thinking he's going to be the Brandon Cooks that you've seen the last couple of years with Brady and Breeze. And I just don't think you're going to see that guy because they've got a running back. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Todd Gurley. There.
Never.
Might ring a bell.
They've got a wide receiver who was the leading rookie wide receiver for receptions last year that Blackburn called, and that's
My guy from last year.
Cooper Kupp. So if you're on Blackburn's list today, you're probably going to be a really successful player in 2018.
Probably not.
Not so much.
Not so much. Well, maybe if you're a rookie. All right, so Cooper Kupp's on that team. They've still got Robert Woods. I mean, they've got two good tight ends there with Higbee and Everett. I mean,
You're not going to get off that train, are you?
I just like saying his name.
But the defense is another thing. The defense factors in because it is a good defense, and they're probably going to keep them in games and keeping it low scoring versus the opponent. So they're not going to have to throw the ball a ton down the field, where in the offense with Breeze as well as with Brady, he was getting a lot more opportunities where he was, I mean, last year, the Patriots-wise, there wasn't an Edelman. So it was like him and Gronk basically fighting for receptions, not being a running back as well. But
I just think he's a one-trick pony. He's a down-the-field, stretched over-the-top guy. That's his role.
And I think you can get those guys in the draft. That's why I was surprised they wanted to invest as much.
Well, they have one already named Robert Woods.
True.
And he's making way less more money than this. So
I'm just surprised they didn't want to invest more in a Cup. I mean, I know it's down the road still, but
they really like Cooper Kupp. I mean, and he's a solid receiver.
He's a possession.
And he's a possession and red zone guy. So
well, the way the NFL's going now, that's what you want.
Yeah.
Right, and I think they wanted what they were trying to get out of Sammy Watkins last year, and unfortunately, Sammy Watkins came into the year behind the curve with them and trying to play catch up, learning the route, learning the playbook, and everything. Where Brandon Cooks has had the whole off season to do it, and McVay seems to really like him. He's praised him left and right in any conversation. He makes sure he brings up Brandon Cooks, but
it just gives him another added dimension. You got the guy that can stretch the field now. You got Kupp and Woods that can get the intermediate passes, and you got Gurley that can run and catch.
Right. So
it's going to be an exciting offense for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's good for him, and, I mean, he deserves the money from what he's done. Now, my only question is he's coming off of two potential or future Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and he's going to Jared Goff, who could potentially be a future Hall of Famer. I mean, it's still early in his career to know, but
very early.
But I'm just saying I don't think you're gonna see the amount of volume that he's been getting in the previous team. So he's gonna have to do more with less, if that makes sense. So we'll see. Next one, Eagles running back Darren Sproles states he will retire at the end of the season. Now, he is coming off an ACL injury. He could be a deep sleeper and deep value in those PPR leagues just because of the reception-wise. I think he could be a late guy or guy you pick up off the waivers depending on how much they want to use him. The problem is, for me at least, they've got Corey Clement, who has shown that he can be successful running and catching out of the backfield. They still apparently have Wendell Smallwood somewhere in that mix, and Jay Ajayi's there, obviously. So
A lot of mouths to feed.
it is. I mean, now granted, Doug Peterson likes to spread the ball around to the different running backs. He's not a single running back guy like his previous head coach that he was coaching under, and Andy Reid, but we'll see. I like Darren Sproles and what he can do. It just sounds like he is ready. He's just going to go through the motions one last time. It doesn't sound like he's really excited to be playing. He's just excited to be back, if that makes sense.
It sounds like a farewell tour.
Right. I think it was like a courtesy thing.
Right. And it was almost like what Derek Jeter did. I know he's not the same level, but I'm
Right.
saying, we're going to, one last season, we'll go through every team, go see what we got.
Right. If I have a great year, great. If I don't, oh well, I'm done at the end of the year. I mean, the guy has been successful in his career. I mean, all the way back to New Orleans. So, I mean, he was there in San Diego when the Chargers were there. He was there in New Orleans. I mean, he's been successful at every stop, and they have tailored the offensive run game to him at every stop he's made, and he's been successful. So it just stinks that he's at the end of the road and he's coming off an ACL injury, and they've stacked that running back core that he's going to probably be buried. It just depends on how well he does in camp, as well as how well everyone else does as well. It depends on where he's going to fall in the depth chart. So we'll see. Now this is an interesting one because I keep scratching my head when I see these running backs come in to visit and then they leave with a contract. But the Saints signed running back Shane Vereen.
It's crazy. They just signed Terrence West like 2 weeks ago.
They're just looking for a passing back, I guess.
I think they just don't think that the guys that they currently have can do
On the back end.
can do enough. I mean, and that's not saying that these guys aren't good like Scott and whatnot that they drafted this year. I just think they don't think that they're going to be ready by season start.
Right.
I think they want a veteran. And Shane Vereen's going to be your pass catching back who could potentially do a portion of what Kamara does in the pass catching if Kamara, for whatever reason, were to get hurt or whatever. And then you got Terrence West, who's going to be filling in for Mark Ingram's role, essentially the bruiser back, versus Shane Vereen's. I mean, they essentially brought in an older version of Mark Ingram and an older version, or a lesser version of Mark Ingram and a lesser version of Alvin Kamara to kind of probably plug the hole just in case, worst case scenario. But I'm not a big Shane Vereen fan. I mean, he was successful for the beginning of his career, but he's kind of been
He holds no fantasy value to me.
Well, he played for the Giants, who their running backs over the last few years were straight garbage.
hot garbage.
That's a Rumpke.
Not as bad as across the pond in New Jersey, where the Jets were as bad, but just saying. I don't know, man. It just seems like there's a lot of running backs. I mean, adding him, they also brought in, who was it? Williams in the offseason. There's a lot of, I don't know, Boston Scott, Terrence West, Shane Vereen, Ingram, Kamara, Jonathan Williams, like I said, Trey. I mean,
They cut that Daniel Lasco guy when they signed Vereen. But, I mean, I think you're right. I think Trey Edmonds, Jonathan Williams, and maybe Boston Scott, they could all be potentially cut.
yeah, I mean, Boston Scott, I think he's the future for them post Ingram, in my opinion. But some of these other guys, I'm just not sure what you're going to get. I just think being young, I just think that they brought in some veterans to kind of.
What about this? What if the – I was thinking about this last night. What if they're bringing these running backs in because they want to trade Mark Ingram?
Maybe. It
I
could
mean,
be.
trade deadline's what, week 8?
I think it's week 8. Yeah,
So he's not going to play till week 5.
true. He'll play one game before their bye week, and then he'll play week 7, I think is what
And
it
then
is.
it's the trade deadline.
Right. Could be. I don't know.
I don't know, though. Do you think Terrence West and Shane Vereen can fill
I
that
think-
gap of
I
Ingram?
think Terrence West could fill in for 1 year for Mark Ingram.
I don't think he hits the same performance level, but I think he takes some of the edge off of Kamara to
Right.
reserve Kamara's.
There'd have to be a pretty good offer on the table. I'd still write Ingram out unless there's
Oh,
a
I'd
great
say I'd
offer.
ride him out when he comes back. I'm just saying, post him, these guys are cheaper. As
Well,
as
no,
behind
I get
Kamara.
that, but Ingram's, I mean, he's done anyways
right
after this year.
right, and he knows
So,
that.
It's whether or not you write it out, or unless you're going to get something good in return.
Well, that's
But
what I'm
when
saying.
most of the league knows he's done.
After that
They're
year
not gonna give
last
him
year,
much.
I would Well, after that year last year, I would trade him right now. He's at top value right
Well,
now.
he was before the suspension. He was at top value. Now he's got a different value.
I'd still put
Somebody
him.
would make an offer for him. It might not be the same dollar amount you're looking at, or potential like what you were saying, where
I'm
coming
saying
off that
somebody.
high.
I'm saying somebody could get a 2nd to 3rd round pick for him, easy.
I think so, but
I think they'd take that if that was offered.
right. I don't think people are at the moment. But speaking of not going to be on their team next year, Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell will not report to camp, but will be ready for Week 1. He did. They didn't get the deal that Bell wanted to do, but they did sign the franchise tag officially. So that going forward, he's made it very clear, I'm not going to come to any camp, but I'll be there for Week 1 like I was last year. So now, Bell did miss last season and still finished, the same time frame, and finished as the running back 2 with 257 fantasy points. So I don't think it's as harmful. It might give him a week or two to kind of get into the flow of the offense like it was last year. But overall, this does not affect where I would be drafting him, honestly.
No.
No,
So-
I think this actually for me. He's still the second back off the board for me, but his value could even be more. With he's going to add touches maybe.
Well,
they're going to give him everything.
Right. Well, and like you had said off the air, they're just going to hand him the ball as much as they can. They're basically just going to wear him out.
Why not?
You've got him for 1 year, and you know he's not coming back next year because you know that given the past 2 years, you couldn't see eye to eye on a contract. So you know that he's gone. So why not
Be
wear
like
him
Kirk
out?
Cousins, they're going to let him walk.
Right,
Yeah.
but he's got to show up and play because now he's fighting for a contract, a
Right.
big contract too, not just any run of the mill.
Right. So he's going to play, and he's going to play tough. He's a contract year. He's playing tough. He knows he's not playing for the Steelers next year. So
It's an audition for every other team.
Yep.
yes, indeed. So speaking of more contract issues, the Falcons hope wide receiver Julio Jones will report to training camp. However, he has stated he's not given a yay or nay as to whether he's coming to training camp. But the Falcons front office has stated that they have no plans to work out a new deal for him. So
Ouch.
Yep.
Is it time for Julio to move on?
I guess.
Contract year for him. He's got a lot to prove.
Jeez.
you got these big name guys, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, but guys like Antonio Brown has set the bar for these contracts. And I know he's not a running back or wide receiver, but Kirk Cousins' guaranteed contract has set the bar for contracts in general.
It's ridiculous.
But
Yeah.
We'll just quickly tap back onto the Le'Veon Bell situation. For Le'Veon Bell, we all were thinking he's the one that falls on the sword this year for the contracts, like the first of the line of the quarterbacks, the first of the line of the wide receivers that kind of got that bigger deal. But that's the president. Hey, okay, if Le'Veon Bell's getting this amount of money, then Todd Gurley, David Johnson, Ezekiel Elliott, and a couple years Kamara all can say, well, Le'Veon Bell got this. I'm worth as much, if not more. And that's that's where you got Antonio Brown to where he is, because he took Julio's deal and all these other guys and said, I'm worth as much, if not more, than these guys, and they paid him that.
Well, I think that's what they're trying to avoid because every position can't be like that.
Right.
Right. And the running backs has been, and let's be honest, the running backs have been the ones that have gotten the short end of the stick in the contract deal, and it's because their shelf life is shorter than any other position.
That and more teams now are going to committees rather than single
Right.
Right.
ball.
Well, and they run by passing the ball now.
Right. It's
So-
a passing league. Running backs, and I don't mean any disrespect to any of the guys, but they're a dime a dozen.
Right.
Outside of the top 4 or 5 running backs.
I tell you what, we slowly saw it come back where the running backs were more important, but for a while there, everything was two guys.
Yeah, a few years ago when Bishop Sankey was in the draft, he was the first running back off the board in the 2nd round.
Right.
And how did that turn out?
Right.
Now, granted, we've had Zeke, we've had Fournette,
Gurley.
Barkley's. Like you said, the running backs are coming back, but for a while there, it was wide receiver dominant.
Right. And you look at somebody like Kamara, where they got him in the draft and they buried him behind Mark Ingram and Adrian Peterson, and you see what he could do. So you can get these guys middle to late of the draft, and they could potentially blow up. It's all talent based, and it's all under your evaluations.
Alfred Morris, his rookie year in Washington, he was a 6th round pick. He led the league in rushing.
Right. So, ultimately, what I think, unfortunately, it's going to come down to now, it seems maybe Bell will be the guy next year or at the end of this year for the one that still falls on the sword for the other guys. But, Gurley's contract's coming up. David Johnson's in his last year because he wasn't a first rounder, so his rookie contracts ends at this year. So
Zeke will be up in 2 years.
Zeke will be up in 2 years. Kamara's up in I think like 3 or 2 or 3 something like that.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be like it was with quarterbacks, how they paid Stafford, Bradford.
Right.
Remember how it kept going up every year?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. That Bell, I thought, was going to be the one that set the precedent, but unfortunately, I don't think it's
Arizona's got a different situation because Rosen now is still on a rookie contract. You can pay Johnson.
Yes.
Right.
And then still be fine when you have to go pay Rosen. Now, Johnson might not get paid after that.
Right.
But
I still think Johnson needs to prove himself anyway.
Well, I agree, but I think he's going to get the contract.
Oh, he's going to get a contract. I just don't know if he's going to get the money that he's wanting.
If he can show what he did 2 years ago this year, he'll definitely get max money.
Let me put it this way. If I'm the Arizona Cardinals and you know that David Johnson is in his last year of his contract, I'm trying to get him on as cheap as I can before the season starts. I know it sounds bad, but from a financial standpoint, because, I mean, you know what his value is right now. It's a pretty good probably dollar amount. Now, let's just go out and say he goes out and he blows it up like he did 2 years ago or whatever when he was running, catching. I mean, he was pretty much doing it all. Then you know his dollar amount just took a step up.
Well, yeah, but they're losing Fitzgerald, so who's their wide receivers after that?
Christian Kirk.
Yep.
Right, but I'm saying they need, if he's catching, if he wants to be the 1,000 guy, 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving, they're going to have to give up that money.
Yeah, well, that's my point.
But he's got to prove it.
True. So I think, I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting going forward.
No injuries, David.
No injuries. And that's the thing.
Especially if I draft you this year. Come on.
David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell.
Break. No,
I mean, you
no
think about
injury.
that. David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell are both in the final year of their contracts, respective contracts, and they both have injury issues. Not David Johnson's not issues, but he's coming off an injury. Le'Veon Bell has shown injury in the past.
Yeah, but he's been good the last couple seasons. I think Bell's overcome that.
So we'll be. Oh, man, I can't believe that we're dealing with these running backs. The names that we're talking about, and people are like, "Yeah, I'm not paying you."
Even Julio, that's crazy to me.
Yeah,
that's why the Ridley pick. Maybe that's
it makes sense now that you
right. They went and got a Ridley.
You got Ridley and Sanu. Still got Austin Hooper.
Yeah, I mean, and they can go in the draft next year and go get another wide receiver.
If they're gonna lose Julio next year, they're also gonna lose Tevin Coleman. That's another weapon. Because they're not going to pay him and Devonta Freeman.
No.
Well,
but Julio's money, I can't believe Julio's money can't come out of Coleman leaving.
I don't know. Because, just like we talked about, Julio's going to went up there with Antonio Brown money.
But then again, I don't know what's happening on the defensive side or the offensive line.
Right. Didn't they just extend Matty Ice like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Was it 2 years ago? So he got paid.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not enough money to go around for these star players.
No, that's the problem.
They can slip me
you
can't. Bills.
The thing is,
I'll take league minimum. I'll take practice squad money.
Just get destroyed.
I'll take the practice squad water boy money.
Yeah.
Man. All I'm saying is you just got, unfortunately, when you look at the contracts, you can't pay a top quarterback, you can't pay a top running back, you can't pay a top wide receiver all on the same team.
Right, and we're not even talking about defense.
No.
Like you said.
Yeah.
And their defense is getting young at the moment, but in a year or two, the Falcons' defense is where it is good. It's gotten better. These guys are going to want to get paid. Yeah. Deion Jones and these guys are going to want to get paid.
Deion Jones will get paid.
I don't get how any of these guys on the line don't look at the guy they're protecting and seeing what he's making. But listen, you want me to protect this?
Well, if you look at
it, make sure you pay me.
If you look at this offseason, Andrew Norwell, that big, the guard went to Jacksonville, huge contract. All these guards, even last year, Zeitler in Cleveland, they're all getting. All these offensive linemen are starting to get paid. Nate Solder in New York.
Because the quarterback's the face of your team.
Sure.
Make sure you got to keep him upright.
It's a passing game. You got to protect them, and you got to pay for play for the run game.
Indeed.
But they don't have any fancy relevance. That's the problem.
Truth.
We should start one with just all offensive linemen.
Pancake. You get a point.
Yeah. Can we just film them?
You get a holding pen with -2. So.
Doug Free would be screwed.
That's a good thing he's retired. All right, let's get into the.
Wait! I got one last thing.
Oh.
Does the Antonio Brown Madden cover, the curse, have any effect on you?
Yeah, he's off my board already.
He's off your board?
He's off my board.
I don't play that.
I don't either.
If Antonio Brown falls to me and my running backs aren't there, Antonio Brown will be a beezy.
We know he's going to pick Hopkins. I mean, he's picking him all day, every day.
This is literally the sign. This is literally
Hopkins
the sign.
and Watkins are going to be his wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 this year.
The fantasy clouds have opened up and said Antonio Brown is now on the cover of Madden. You were right. Do not draft him.
If he does get hurt this year, though, it's over. I'm not doing any more Madden covers.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I won't draft anyone on the cover. If he gets hurt, screw it, I'm done.
Oh, man. All right, let's get into the main segment today, the run-pass option. This week it's swipe right and/or the guys that we are keeping and/or drafting in every draft. So let's get into that.
Nothing you can take can tear me away from my God.
adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
Oh, Ferris Bueller and Sister Act.
Boom.
There you go. Those are 90 references.
Ferris Bueller's 80s.
Is it the 80s? I thought it was a 90. Early
Pretty
90s.
sure it's 80s.
Oh, well. Kudos
Let's
to
ask
that.
my friend Google.
All right. Well, this segment is presented by Fantasy Fate Ball, the one and only Magic 8 Ball for fantasy football. 20 custom answers to help you make those critical start-sit decisions in the Sunday morning agony. Head over to fantasyfateball.com. Use promo code HATEFUL8 for $5 off your purchase. What did the Google say?
89?
1986.
A year after I was born.
I was 4.
Jeez.
Oh, man. Oh, well. All right.
2.
We just dated ourselves. All right. So we've got a couple guys that we each are for sure drafting at any and every chance we can in the our fantasy drafts coming up this year, even mock drafts. So and we'll kind of give an explanation as to why, like we did, where guys last week we said we were not going to be drafting and why. So you, I think, started last week with your guy you're not drafting. So Blackburn, you can be the starter for this week.
Excellent, Smithers.
Excellent.
So who should we all be drafting?
Yes.
Okay, we all know this is my guy. I've talked him up. It's the running back. Let's go ahead and hit it.
Turn up the man. Once again, turn up the man. Top of the world. Turn up the watch my flow.
Oh,
yes, that's Marlon Mack.
Oh, man.
His current ADP is round 8, pick 3. Currently the RB 32.
I like it.
That's crazy to me. Last year he finished RB 45 with 82 points, but Frank Gore was there and he had 145 points. Take those points away. Robert Turbin suspended for 4 games. Give those points to Mack.
Little addition by subtraction.
Exactly.
Like
right now, Mack's listed as the number 1 guy on the depth chart. Nyheim Hines, number 2, but he's like scat catching back, kind of like a Tariq Cohen type. Like we said, Turbin suspended for 4 games, so it's going to be all Mack. 8th round is a steal, I think, to get a team's number 1 running back. He can catch. He can. I mean, obviously he's a running back, but he can catch out of the backfield.
Right.
And I think currently I have him as my RB 20 with potential to climb even more.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing with Marlon Mack is, like you said, he's the running back 1 on a team. Now, even if it's a horrible team like the Colts could potentially be, it's still to be seen what we're going to get out of the offense.
Well, they can't be as bad as they were last year, and Frank Gore finished as RB 17.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. You see what a potential base layer or baseline which you could potentially get out of Marlon Mack. No, he is not the same guy as Frank Gore, but to me he's a little bit more athletic than Frank Gore is. So in theory,
well, Frank Gore didn't catch much last year. He can do both.
Right, so that's my point. So if you're looking at least 140, what did you say, 145?
Frank Gore had 145, and he had 80, and Mack had 82.
Well, let's just say he takes. We'll just say we'll flop him. Say like he takes the 145. Nyheim Hines takes the pass catching some of it and gets 80
right,
something.
That puts Mack inside the top 20.
Okay, so top 20.
Well, I think where Frank Gore got where he's making all his points is in the red zone, and when that's gone, and Marlon Mack's going to be that guy. So especially with Turbin.
Right.
Out.
With what is it, semi-tire biceps out for the first couple weeks. Dude, did you see them?
Yeah,
his combine,
he was jacked.
His combine pick was his bicep was as big as the football.
The Duke.
Which Andrew Luck apparently may or may not be still throwing it.
I think he's still in the fantasy.
Well, there you go.
And
then you add Luck into the mix.
Right.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Now, Jacoby Brissett.
Luck is throwing that ball.
He's throwing the fantasy fate ball. He's like, will I be able to play this year?
No. Yeah, so I just think that offense, Jacoby Brissett will be a nice quarterback in general, not for fantasy purposes, but overall, I think it helps him have an extra off season to get a little more acclimated to the offense in case Luck, for whatever reason, were not to play or gets hurt or doesn't start the season right away, whatever the reason. But I think then they rely more on Marlon Mack.
Check downs.
And the tight ends and everything else. So
Ebron, sleeper guy. I'm hearing lots of good stuff about Ebron.
They really seem to like him.
I know.
What
about Jack Doyle?
He's kind of like went off the wayside here. They're talking about Ebron being the guy.
Small hands just.
It's just not working.
Way.
Ebron's out there like, hey, I came from Detroit. I'm good. I'm good. I'll be fine. Just let me throw me the ball.
Yeah, he comes from an offense that throws the ball all over the place, and he still didn't put up big numbers. That's what scares me about him.
They've talked, like I said, in the offseason, any positive, I kind of take it as a good thing. I mean, I don't take it as like facts in stone. It's when you hear the horrible stories.
Yeah,
like
but if you're any negative, come on. There's always positive coming out of camp. Everyone looks good in shorts.
That's not actually true. I heard Mike Gesicki.
Vance Wilfork didn't.
No. Mike Gesicki is apparently struggling in camp, or in the preseason camp so far, the voluntary ones. So I'm just saying, it's not always good. But
Danny Amendola.
Danny Amendola. All right. My guy for this, number one guy on this, is Kyle Rudolph, the tight end out of the Minnesota Vikings. Currently going as the tight end 7, and he's going 7th round, 10th pick, so the last pick of the 7th round in a 10-man league. But still, I mean, if you're not getting the guys, for me, if you're missing out on Gronk, Kelsey, or Ertz, in my opinion, he's the next best option, and you can get him towards the back end of your draft. I'm not saying like middle to back end, because I mean that's the earliest I've seen him, but I've actually seen him go as late as like 8 or 9. So
just think if Hunter Henry was here, you could even get him later, and he'd still be a steal.
Right, that's my point. And now in 2017, he finished the tight end 6 with 101 fantasy points in standard. So and the thing was, he wasn't targeted a ton last year. So 2 years ago, in 2016, he saw 132 targets, which was the most for a tight end that year. And his QB was none other than Sam Bradford, who loved throwing to the tight end. Now, as you know, as a Redskins fan, Kirk Cousins doesn't mind throwing the ball to his tight end.
Not at all.
So ask Vernon Davis how that went out for him.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, you got a quarterback that's coming in who likes
Jordan Reed,
who likes to spread the ball
when he's on the field.
When he's on the field. Echo. I'm just saying, you got a quarterback that's coming in that likes to throw the ball to the tight end position, and he likes to spread the ball around to multiple receivers. So the only factor in is he really likes the tight end in the red zone, is who he likes to focus on. And I just think with the previous year's stats, Rudolph has been a top 6 tight end the last 2 years. Tight end 2 in 2016 with Bradford, and tight end 6 last year with Bradford/Case Keenum. So I don't know. The thing that I looked through, the stats, this was what I came across I was kind of interested in. 2015, the offensive coordinator, the new offensive coordinator now, it's John Delafilippo. I'm going to butcher his name. Delafilippo, who was the QB coach there for the Eagles last year, who had a pretty successful year.
Yep.
He's the new offensive coordinator. Now, he was also the quarterback coach there in Cleveland in 2015 when none other than Gary Barnidge was the tight end 2.
The disappearing tight end.
Gary Barnidge has disappeared since he left. Just saying. Literally, I have no idea where he's at.
I don't know what he's doing.
Now,
he's bagging groceries.
In Philly.
Worked out good for Kurt Warner.
True. While in Philly, 2016, 2017, Ertz was the tight end 8 in 2016 and the tight end 3 last year. So similar ADPs going around for tight ends is Evan Ingram at 704 and Delaney Walker going at 808. So I'm just saying, company-wise, and Evan Ingram is going into an offense this year with OBJ, Shepard, and Saquon Barkley. Just saying that's a lot of guys that are going to see a lot of volume that could potentially take away from Evan Ingram. But
Rudolph's not exactly in a non-crowded team either.
No, but the quarterback that's there doesn't mind throwing the ball around. I guess that's the difference, in my opinion.
Yes, I think, like you said, the guy coming over from the Eagles to Minnesota is a big help for Rudolph.
Oh yeah,
Kirk Cousins will spread the ball around, but he does favor tight ends a lot. I think, and if you listen to our bold prediction show months back, I had Kyle Rudolph going as he'll be a top 3 tight end this year. Yeah, I still stand by that.
I mean, I've got him as the tight end 5 behind Gronk, Kelsey, Ertz, and Olsen in some fashion, and that's still could be changed. But
I'm right
to me, Olsen and Rudolph are interchangeable between 4 and 5 at the moment. But I could see him finishing top 3 easily. So
he's gonna have the touchdown numbers, and that's what you want, especially your tight end.
And looking at the stats, Filippo, when he was the offensive coordinator or a QB coach for the team, that tight end was like targeted a ton compared to the receivers. And let's be honest, they have Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, who both could be wide receiver 1s on any other team. So if they spread the ball evenly to those guys, who's the guy that they're going to look through in the red zone? And if they're trying to save Dalvin Cook in some fashion from being hurt, it's either him or Latavius Murray in the red zone. So, I don't know. I just like Kyle Rudolph's potential, and the guy with average quarterback, really good quarterback, he's still in that top 6 finishing-wise. So
I like it.
I do too.
All right, what do you got for your first guy?
I tried to pick all the Lions.
Oh.
Well, Stafford, a little Kerryon Johnson, Marvin Jones, and Golden Tate, but I went totally away from all that and decided to stay with Minnesota here, and I went with Dalvin Cook.
All right.
He is the running back 10. His ADP is in the 2nd round, 3rd pick.
Okay.
So for me, I know he's coming off an ACL injury, and everyone thinks he's going to be held back on his potential workload, but if you look at what he did last year in only 4 games, he had 74 attempts, 354 yards, 16 targets, 11 receptions, 90 yards, and 2 touchdowns in 4 games. So let's project that out for the year. That would be 296 attempts, 1,400 yards rushing, 64 targets, 44 receptions, 306 yards receiving, and 8 total touchdowns. But the part that I like the most is if you look at how many times he was touching the ball in those 4 games, it averaged out to be 90. If you take that over the 16 games, that's 360 times he's touching the ball. Compare that to other rookies. Kamara, 220. Hunt, 330. His role in this offense is big.
Oh, yeah.
And he's coming in and he played – that's with Murray and McKinnon both on the roster last year.
True.
And that's without even Thielen being a household name yet.
True.
So I just think he's going to blow up. He's a 3-down back with potential to catch the ball.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Let's say my only knock against that, I don't have nothing against Dalvin Cook, but they had an inexperienced quarterback last year, and what's his name? Guy that plays for Denver now.
Case Keenum.
That guy.
Well, okay,
so they relied on the running backs more than what a normal team should. Now they got a guy that's thrown for over 4,000 yards 3 straight seasons. I think they're going to throw the ball a bit more and take the pressure off of him.
I knew you were going to say that. So if you take the pressure off him, lower his attempts, okay? You know, Chris Thompson averaged 55 targets under Kirk Cousins in 3 years. 48, 64, and 54. I'd still take that if I was Cook, and his numbers will even go up.
Well, okay. As a Skins fan, Chris Thompson's numbers were inflated because of injuries to the running backs. He was actually the starter.
I get it, but that's what I'm still saying. He's throwing in the. It's not like he's not throwing in the running back.
I get you, but that was our game script or whatever. Look at our receivers. We had Terrell Pryor, who finished 112.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, it was a crappy wide receiving core. This wide receiving core is much better. Plus Kyle Rudolph. I don't know. I think Cook could be slowed down a little bit.
I just think there's enough in the offense for him. But
I think that there could be potential. I mean, the potential for him to be good is there. It's just how much are the offensive coordinator wanting to use him? Is he wanting to use him as only the pass catching back, or is he wanting to use him as a running back, a true running back, or is he want to use him as a blend? Because you still have Latavius Murray, who could be a bruiser back on the goal line if you wanted to. But I think Dalvin Cook has shown that he can be a running and pass catching running back,
right,
and he can handle the volume. It's just, I think the biggest thing is it's going to come down to the coaches as to how comfortable they are letting him roam, if that makes sense. Like with the injury, because I mean not many really good running backs get hurt in their rookie year and come back and blow it up their second year. That's my only question, is because he got hurt his rookie year when they were literally force-feeding him the ball.
Right.
Are they concerned that, hey, I don't want to hurt him again because that'd be 2 injuries in 2 years. We can't have that because our best option is Latavius Murray fighting behind him.
Who's not bad.
Who's not bad.
I just think it comes down to Cousins, and I think they're going to throw more. He's better than Keenum.
I guess it had to been any other quarterback, even a throwing quarterback in general, I would have been okay. But the fact they brought Kirk Cousins in and they paid him the type of money that they paid him, they're not paying him that much money to go hike.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
So I guess that's my thing is if they're going to use him and use him in the run game as well as in the pass game, then yes, I think he's going to be great for fantasy purposes. I just have the concern as to there's only when you've got Thielen, Diggs, Rudolph, Cook, somebody's getting scratched out of that equation. And who do you think's the odd man out? It ain't going to be Thielen. It's not going to be Diggs. So it comes down to Rudolph and Cook.
Cook is the guy, like, if he's there, I'll draft him, but I'm going to be nervous about it.
Wait, so you like Cook over Diggs or Diggs over Cook?
Diggs, like wide receiver, like points-wise?
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying I think that Diggs and Thielen are going to be sharing targets in some fashion, and then based on how much they're throwing, I think where I guess my point is with Cook is his value is going to have to come from the receiving game.
Right.
Because I
agree. I think it's going to go up.
I just don't know how much they're going to incorporate the running backs with this offense. Because coming out of the Eagles, they had you had Ertz, and who was their greatest wide receivers? Aguilar and Jeffrey. They weren't that great last year. In Cleveland, when Barnage was blowing it up, who was their wide receivers? Josh Gordon might have been there. I don't know if he was high or if he was on the field or not at that point. I don't know. I'm just saying based on the offensive coordinator, he shows a tendency to favor the tight end, and that's my only concern. If he's coming into an offense now, he's got, as we've all said, Thielen and Diggs, who are really good wide receivers. It could be wide receiver ones on any other team. And you got Kyle Rudolph, who, as we've all agreed, is a top 6 tight end at least. And then you got Dalvin Cook. who's on a rookie contract.
Right.
So I think if they, it's to be seen, but I mean, I like the talent of Dalvin Cook, and I like his upside. I'm just concerned as to where they're going to factor him into the passing game. If they're going to do that, then that takes away from either Diggs or Thielen or Rudolph.
Like I said, I like Cook. He just makes me nervous.
Okay, how about the guys going around him then?
Who are the guys that are going around him?
Hunt.
I don't like Hunt.
Hunt makes me nervous too because now Ware's back.
Well, that and I just Ware's back, but my bigger equation is
You've seen the decline in Hunt as the season went on last year.
my question with Hunt. My
Quarterback.
My reserve is the quarterback, and then they went and they've got Tyreek Hill, they've got Sammy Watkins, they got Travis Kelce. It's the same situation. You've
Right.
got a young running back with a new quarterback.
See, but I look at it totally differently. I look at it where he's got all these receiving weapons. It actually opens up easier running room for the running back.
It does, but I don't know how. I'm on board with. I don't think they're going to dump the workload on him.
They ran the ball the second most out of any team last year.
But their
Play calls.
quarterback was Rumpke.
I get that, but even if they dial back even a little bit within the top 10, he's still getting a ton of touches.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to get the full workload. They know what they got in Latavius Murray, and he restructured his contract to stay with Minnesota.
I don't know, man. I
I'm
like
all in on Cook.
I
All
like
in.
Cook, but like he said, if he's there in the second round and I'm picking and I have to take him, but he's going to make me nervous.
Let's say, did you have any other running backs that were going in the second
I'm
round?
pulling it up right now.
Okay,
I'm
'cause
drawing blank on who I was thinking of.
I think Fournette's in that mix.
Fournette,
Fournette
Hunt.
and Freeman.
Okay, so Fournette, Freeman.
I'd take both of those before Cook.
PPR?
Yes.
Fournette I would take over him. Freeman I would as well.
I would not take Fournette over Cook in a PPR. Fournette's not going to catch the ball.
No, but his volume in the run game is going to be enough to cover the
Yeah.
non.
You're going to rely on touchdowns only then?
He seemed
He
to
doesn't
do
get
pretty
a point.
well last year.
I know, but he doesn't get a point when he carries the ball.
I get it.
They don't have a stud wide receiver 1. They don't have a wide receiver 2. So okay, let me ask you this. It's the same. We'll just take same equation. Dak Prescott and Dallas Cowboys. Are you going to take Zeke? Are you going to take Cook over Zeke in a PPR? Because Zeke's volume is all run.
Zeke catches a lot.
But Zeke, we've seen his touchdown numbers. We know what they are.
Right. We know what Fournette's getting. We know the volume that he's going to see. It's going to be inside the 20. It's Fournette.
And they boosted their offensive line this year.
They brought in Norwell. I'm just saying they're planning on just saying here Fournette run
I'm
this
just
like
saying
1,000 times.
Fournette, even in a PPR, half PPR, it makes me feel comfortable knowing what I have in Fournette.
Right.
Cook, I don't know what I have, and it makes me nervous. So I would go with Fournette or Freeman.
See, I think Fournette would be for sure for me. But then when you get into the Freeman, Cook, Hunt situation, I think it gets gray for me, and I like Dalvin Cook's offense better than I do the other teams.
Right.
I don't like the Atlanta offense in general. Not a big fan of it. Julio's apparently not doing
But they
whatever.
favor running backs.
That's the asterisk.
That's the only
with
reason
him.
I would take Freeman. I would take.
See, Freeman's splitting with Coleman.
He is.
Yeah.
That's
but
what-
but,
see, that's
they've-
what
but he's still proving that he can be a valuable fantasy.
Well, no,
running
yeah,
back.
I'm not saying he's not valuable. What I'm getting at is, I'm actually agreeing with you.
Right.
That's why I take Cook over Freeman.
Right, and I think, but Hunt scares me because of the offense and the unknown of the offense. And if they're playing from behind, they're not going to be throwing a ton to Kareem Hunt. They're not going to hand the ball off a ton if they're down by 3-4 touchdowns. Throwing it with Mahomes is going to be throwing for his life out there. Where I think that defense in Jacksonville is going to keep them low-scoring games, so they're not going to need to throw the ball a ton. So which means that Leonard Fournette's volume is going to be out through the roof. By the end of the year, I would not be surprised if either Ezekiel Elliott or Leonard Fournette have the most volume for a running back.
Okay.
Just because
I'll give
of
you that.
potential.
I just think Cook's going to be a more steady play for you because the balance of catch.
I'm not saying he's not.
The potential's there, and we've seen it last year in the small sample that we got that he can do it. It's just I don't know. He just makes me nervous. And I know Kirk Cousins, they throw the ball a lot.
So it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm not off. If Dalvin Cook is sitting there at the second round and it's between him or Kareem Hunt, I'm taking Dalvin Cook. But that's just me. But that's because I'm not
See, I
high
want
on
to pair Fournette and Cook. To be honest with you, I want to pair the two.
Well, you could potentially if you try to. If
you got
get
the
Fournette in
back
front-
end, you could.
You could. I've seen that in a lot of mock drafts where people taking Fournette at the end of the first and
I paired
taking
Freeman
Cook
and
in the
Cook
second.
last year, so.
To me, Cook is better suited as your second running back, not your first.
Correct.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, if you're lucky enough to get like one of the top five, Zeke, Bell, Gurley.
I just don't think you're giving him a chance. He's only had 4 games.
Right.
I know, but that's what makes me nervous. We don't know. We've seen 4 games.
However, on the flip side, we have the same equation for that you're all on board, and I just thought about this, that you're all on board with Deshaun Watson, and we only had a 6-game sample size. So I think that's the big – it's all your personal preference is what it comes down to. He personally has no problem rolling the dice on a question mark over a running back, where you have no problem rolling the dice on a question mark quarterback, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, but it's the right price.
Oh, right.
Deshaun Watson isn't going in the 2nd round.
True. I guess my thing is with Dalvin Cook – I could not take Dalvin Cook as my running back 1, if that makes sense. I could take Leonard Fournette as my running back 1.
You can't screw up the 2nd round pick. I mean, that's a pretty lofty thing to overcome. If you screw up your 2nd round pick, you're done.
I mean, your first 2 picks are solid. You got to have something, and you got to hope that the floor doesn't fall out. I mean, so I don't know. It is what it is. In my personal preference, like the guys that you mentioned, I would take Fournette, and then I would take Cook, and then I would take Freeman in a PPR. On the flip side, in a standard, I would take Fournette, Freeman, then Cook in a standard, if that makes sense.
Right, and actually that's how I have them in my ranking, too.
It's a flip of a coin between Freeman and Cook, but I don't know. We'll see. Who is your number 2? Who does number 2 work for?
Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams for the Packers. Right now he's wide receiver 6, 2nd round, 7th pick. He finished as wide receiver 12 last year with 148 points. And that's with Aaron Rodgers missing 7 games. So he was the only one really producing when Rodgers went out.
Yeah, Nelson fell off the face of the earth.
Right. Well, he's touchdown dependent. Speaking of Nelson, he's gone now. He's with the Raiders, so that makes Devontae the clear-cut number 1. Randall Cobb's off his injury now. He's back doing whatever, but he hasn't been relevant in a couple of years. And they brought in Jimmy Graham. I think he's going to steal a bunch of targets, mainly in the red zone.
Which is where Jordy was favored.
Right. But Devontae Adams is your big play. He's got big playability. He's your threat downfield. And 2 years ago, 2016, he was the wide receiver 7 with 172 points, and I think Jordy was number 2 that year.
Yeah, well, he was either 1 or 2, but still, I mean, that shows Aaron Rodgers can carry 2 solid wide receivers.
One of the few guys that can do that.
So right now, I currently have Devontae as my wide receiver 7. Okay. And I think he has the potential this year, if everybody stays healthy, to break into that top 5.
Okay, so I guess he would be in your second group of wide receiver bunches. I don't want to use like the phrase tier, but like your bunch, like you have a set like Hopkins, Brown, and is there anybody else in that first group?
My tier 1 is 3 guys.
Okay.
It's Hopkins, Brown, and Keenan Allen.
Okay, so OBJ's not in that group?
Okay, I'm sorry, OBJ. So
okay,
that's 4.
That's what I was saying.
And then your next guys, you got Julio, Devontae Adams.
Throwing Thielen in there?
No.
I know you're not high on him. That's why I asked.
Thielen's going to drop a lot this year. A lot of people's going to hate on me for that, but Kirk Cousins spreads the ball around.
I know, but he gets himself open so well.
I get it. I understand.
One of the best in the league at it.
I know, but the only reason he was as good as he was last year is because Case Keenum just looked at him.
Well, so
we're just torn on that Minnesota offense now.
Well, I mean, I watched a lot of Minnesota games last year, and it always came down to crunch time. I don't know what the percentage is. I'm gonna look it up and say it next show. On 3rd down, go back and watch the tape. Thielen was the go-to guy every single time for Case Keenum.
Yeah.
Every time they had a 3rd down, it was to Thielen, whether it was incomplete or complete. He was zoning in on him every single time.
I mean, when plays would break down, he was the guy that he would go find, and so he would get open. Now, the interesting thing about Devontae Adams is with the Packers offense is Randall Cobb or Geronimo Allison will be your wide receiver 2. But, I mean, I know a lot of people are like, well, Devontae Adams has never really been the wide receiver 1 on the offense. It's not actually true. When Jordy was hurt and Aaron Rodgers was hurt, he had no problem stepping in, and he was still fantasy relevant those weeks.
Yeah, even with garbage Hundley.
So, and that's my thing. I mean, and I kind of put that in the same context as like DeAndre Hopkins in that sense where if your main quarterback goes down, can you still rely on that wide receiver? Guys like Antonio Brown, you cannot. When Big Ben went down, Antonio Brown's almost irrelevant.
He disappeared, yeah.
And the same thing with, guys like DeAndre Hopkins and guys like Devontae Adams who prove that they can be a solid wide receiver regardless of the QB. That's somebody that I want on my team if I'm looking for a wide receiver, because a wide receiver, unfortunately, is attached to a quarterback.
True.
That's the problem. That's the crutch for the wide receiver position. And that's kind of the reason why, unless one of these guys like Brown or Hopkins or OBJ fall to me, depending on where I'm at in the draft, I'm not taking a wide receiver in the top 4 picks. If I'm in 1 through 4, I'm not drafting a wide receiver. And I'll just tell you right now, in any fantasy draft.
Think about it. If Eli Manning goes down, they got Davis, Webb, or whoever.
Are you excited about OBJ then? Are you? No.
No, OBJ's burned me too many times.
But I'm just saying. If Big Ben gets hurt,
that's
are you excited about Antonio Brown?
Polar opposite just feelings on. That's it.
Right.
And he's a great player.
Now, on the flip side, okay, here's the equation. Big Ben, if he gets hurt, who do you think affects more? And who do you think it helps more? Bell and Brown.
It helps Bell, obviously.
And hurts Brown. That's my thing. With running backs, you look for running backs like we've talked about for guys who are going to have tons of volume and tons of upside and could be potentially just stars on their offense.
Your top 6 running backs can catch and run, and that's who you want.
So, and I mean, you
see, for me, if Ben goes down, Juju is the guy who goes up because he's a slot guy.
Right. So that's my point. So where on the flip side, if you take a wide receiver, you're now attached to that quarterback, and you're praying that quarterback does not get hurt, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, whether it's Big Ben, Deshaun Watson,
yeah.
I mean, Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford. I mean, I'm just saying there's a lot more risk in a top 3 or 4 wide receiver if a quarterback, when you're attached to the quarterback. That's why I look at
2
it.
players.
And listen, you're preaching to the choir. I'm a running back heavy guy.
And I just talked, when I talk to these guys who are all about the wide receivers early and often, and they take 2 wide receivers early, I'm like, that's great. You got Antonio Brown, and then in the second round you took Mike Evans. Great. And I'm not dinking you on that one. All I'm saying is now you're going to have to worry about the quarterback that's attached to him, because if the quarterback gets hurt or the quarterback's playing poorly or that offense in general is horrible, they're not going to be able to get a whole lot of production out of that guy. That's my only concern with wide receivers.
Oh, Devontae Adams is going round 2, pick 7, so you better hope everybody stays healthy on that.
Right. I mean, Brett Hundley still there, right? Or is that Kaiser now?
I think it's Kaiser and Hundley.
Okay,
yeah,
so but he's shown that he's got
there.
rapport there with Hundley. If worst case scenario would get another injury with Aaron Rodgers, but I don't know, man.
I like it. Adams is growing on me. I wanted to put Marvin Jones here, but we've talked about Marvin Jones so much on the show.
I'm all about the Lions, so
yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
They suck, but like they're
fantasy
because they're playing from behind all the time, and all they do is throw.
True,
it's awesome.
I like it. All right, my second guy is going to be none other than as I'll call him, the lame cheetah, Sammy Watkins.
Lame cheetah.
So he's not Tyreek Hill, the cheetah. That's the shiny new toy in the zoo. He is the one that's he's had his few times. He's been in the circus. He's been there. He's had his roundabout at the zoo, and he's kind of the one in the back end of the zoo that they're not like excited. They're like, oh yeah, you remember that guy that was really famous like years ago? No, we're not gonna have him. He's not on.
They got overgrown plants.
No one goes back there and takes care of the zone he's in. I'm just saying, Sammy Watkins is the lame cheetah. He's fast, but he's also got foot issues. So.
It's not good.
No,
plantar fasciitis.
Ooh, look at that. He's going as the wide receiver 28.
Can you spell it?
IT. Say, can you spell it? IT.
I knew where he was going with it.
Sammy Watkins, wide receiver 28, 801 in the ADP right now. So he's going to first of the 8th round. And to me, everyone's all excited about the new shiny toy of Tyreek Hill. He's been there for a couple years now, but now you got Sammy Watkins coming in, who essentially to me is cut out of the same mold as Tyreek Hill. He's just a little bit older, got a little bit more injury baggage attached to him, but overall, he's fast. He's still fast, and he's going to be seeing favorable coverage all year. That's my thing, because Tyreek Hill is going to see a lot of double coverage. Now, 2017 wasn't the best, but he did, even with coming in late to the offense and a non-really heavy throwing offense of the Rams, he was the wide receiver 33, 107 fantasy points. Played all 16 games last year. You wouldn't know it, but he had only a few games where he was like awesome. I mean,
one game he had 3 touchdowns.
Right, and that carried his volume.
Overall.
Who else did that? Who else has done that in that Kansas City offense? Who's been like there and not there?
Hill.
Oh, what do you know?
Yeah, look at that.
Look at that.
They're the same player.
They are.
I just like Watkins' ADP a lot better.
One's just lame.
Right.
Cheetah.
Lame cheetah with foot issues. That's why he can't be on display for everyone.
Listen, you're not really selling him as your guy here.
No,
lame cheetah. I mean, he's in the back of the zoo.
He's not on display. He's in the overgrown.
He's heavily sedated the way he doesn't attack any of the visitors.
Right. Just saying. Yes. I didn't think about that one. Now, the biggest thing is he was traded earlier in the offseason to Kansas City, so he's got the full offseason to work with Mahomes and under Andy Reid's play calling. Now, the biggest thing, as we've all talked about, the health has been an issue for Watkins. So in 2017, pedal foot fracture. So he had 2 screws inserted in the previously fractured foot to repair a left foot following multiple recovery setbacks. So not looking good. 2016, the initial pedal foot injury, missed week 3 and then landed on the IR designated to return. But after a teammate stepped on his surgically repaired left foot in a walkthrough, he missed the rest of the 8 games and didn't return until week 12.
It's probably Cognito,
right? He's like, no, dumbbells.
Throwing weights at his feet.
Dumbbells.
So then earlier in the 2016 offseason, in April, had another pedal foot fracture. Watkins fractured his left foot in April workout training and needed a screw inserted. So that was the initial. Now
that's when he was really lame, Cheetah.
Yeah.
Really,
dude. I just picture Incognito busting through the wall like the
Kool-Aid
man.
Like Juggernaut.
Oh yeah, and it's chucking the weights at him.
I'm the Juggernaut.
Oh man! All right, and then in 2015, he had a pedal ankle sprain. So Watkins sprained his left ankle on a TD reception in week 6, mixed 2 games. So. Now
you're still going to draft him, your wide receiver too.
No,
yeah.
People want to say he's done. Now I wrote this. People want to say he wants to say he's done now, and it's over. But coming from where he was last year on McVay's offense, he averaged 2 receptions, 39 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown every 2 games. So he had a receiving touchdown every 2 games, which is not great. But in 16 games, that's 8 touchdowns. It's not horrible. And only
I'll take 8 touchdowns.
Now here's a kicker though. He only played in 80% of the snaps last year. That's one of the lowest. When he's played a full season, that's the lowest amount he's ever played. So 2014, played all 16 games, was a wide receiver 25. 2015, played only 13 games and was a wide receiver 15. So now this report was per Andy Reid. It was talking to an ESPN reporter about Sammy Watkins this offseason. He says, we're moving him all over the place, and he's handled it. We've overloaded him with that, and that's how we do it in this offense. Says that's something new for him, and we can tell he's a guy that takes away from listening and learning the studies, and we're doing all these different formations and so on and so forth. But what it tells me is they're going to move him around to get him open. So if you're going to move him around to get him open and do what he's got to do to be successful, why wouldn't you take him where he's going versus a guy like Tyreek Hill, who's going in the 3rd round, or no, he's going in the 2nd round, right?
Second or third, yeah, late 2nd, early 3rd,
consistently, and he's essentially the same guy.
Listen, I agree with you.
Just Tyreek Hill is the same guy as a younger version with less injuries.
They're both boomer bust guys,
right?
It's just, would you rather spend a 2nd or 3rd round pick on them or
an 8th round?
So that's what it boils down to.
And they're often stalled at times last year, and he just might be the piece they're missing to just change it up.
Right. Well, we don't know either what Mahomes is going to do.
He's a huge question mark.
That's what worries me with Kelsey and everybody else. Is I just don't know. If Alex Smith was still there, I would definitely be on board with just overlooking Tyreek Hill altogether and going after Watkins later.
Right. So now the wide receivers with the similar ADPs as him is Jordy Nelson at 802. Michael Crabtree at 804.
He's interesting to me, though.
And Corey Davis at 810. So
I'm not a Corey Davis guy.
Just saying, those are 3 wide receivers that are going at about a pick or 2 after.
Crabtree's all they got there in Baltimore. Who's their other wide receiver?
Kenny.
I'm just
not
blank.
It's not Kenny Stills.
Willie Stills.
It's Willie Snead. That's who it is.
Yeah, Willie Snead.
Same
guy.
guy.
They got Hayden Hurst.
Hayden Hurst. Mark Andrews.
I still like Collins in that one.
Alex Collins.
I like Collins.
I'm just saying. So you look at the wide receivers that are going right around him. Well, who out of those group would you pick over Sammy Watkins?
I like Watkins.
I mean, the only one
sad to say because I'm not a big Sammy fan.
The only person I could put close to drafting him over Sammy Watkins would be Michael Crabtree, and that's just because of volume of being the only really red zone target. I mean,
I like Corey Davis' potential too.
I like Corey Davis' potential, but
I get what you're saying.
I'm just saying, as to what we know for sure, Michael Crabtree would be the only one that I would put up there as potentially drafting over Sammy Watkins. But
Deion Lewis will be the Tennessee Titans leader in receptions this year.
I like it. So now I want to put out a bold prediction.
That's bold.
Oh, it is bold. I like that. Well, I'm not completely hating it. I mean, it could happen.
I know. I'm trying to think now.
Because Delaney Walker, he's going to get hurt a couple games. I'm just not a big Corey Davis fan.
But okay, so Watkins, wide receiver 30 for me. So he's in that wide receiver 3 tier, but has top 20 potential, and it could potentially happen. I mean, it just depends on how many boom versus bust games he has, and I will go out on a bold prediction and say if Sammy Watkins plays all 16 games this year, he will outscore Tyreek Hill.
Ooh.
So where do you got Tyreek then if that happens? Because now I'm thinking in my head, if you said 2 top 20 guys, that's 2 wide receiver 2s on a, what, Mahomes is quarterback?
I'd have to look at my rankings, but I've got Tyreek Hill in that middle of wide receiver, back into wide receiver 2. So I have him where I think Watkins could potentially be right now, if that makes sense.
No, I get what I'm saying is, let's say Watkins has that year you're talking about, the
Yeah.
potential year. Where does that leave Tyreek?
I think he falls into that wide receiver 3.
Okay.
I guess that's what I'm saying.
No, that
I currently have them
makes
ranked.
more sense.
I have Hill ranked as a wide receiver 2 and Watkins ranked as a wide receiver 3. But I'm saying if, and that's because
Right,
the uncertainty
I
of the
get
offense
that, yep.
and the games of injuries, if Watkins plays all 16 games, I think he moves into that wide receiver talk, and that bumps Tyreek Hill to the low end wide receiver 2, top wide receiver 3.
Man, I should have just made this the bold prediction show.
I know, right?
I need to make one.
49 days, boys.
49 days. So, who is yours? Your final.
Listen, I'm going to try to get you guys on board with this one.
Let's go.
Obviously,
I'm all
Dalvin Cook, I
ears.
struck out.
I'm all ears. Let's go.
Are you?
No, I can't. My ears are small. Sorry.
I don't even know where to go with this. My guy is Keenan Allen.
Sold. You don't even got to say nothing.
I know, and you already put him
I'm
in
in.
his tier.
I'm in.
He's my tier 1 guy.
Put me in.
All right, we're done.
Put me in.
Done.
Put me in, coach.
Blackburn has spoken.
He has.
All right.
He's a wide receiver 7. His ADP is 2nd round, 10th pick.
Okay.
2017 stats, real quick. 159 targets, 102 receptions, 1,393 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He finished the wide receiver 3 in both PPR and standard.
Okay.
He's obviously Phillip Rivers, number 1. And as long as he stays healthy, that's a big key for him.
Yes.
I think he'll blow up this year. But his targets from last year, or his stats from last year, if we look at him, he was 5th in targets, more than Julio, Thomas, and Thielen, all guys that are going around him.
Ooh.
4th in receptions, more than Antonio Brown, Hopkins, Jones, and Thielen.
Ooh.
3rd in yards, more than Hopkins, Thielen, and Thomas.
Yeah, he was also favored a ton in the red zone.
Just about to get there. 1st in the red zone among all wide receivers with 24, 15 inside the 10.
Now,
Well, guess what?
wouldn't that be a concern, though? Don't they have a really good tight end in that offense?
They did.
now? Oh,
He gone.
He gone.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
With Hunter Henry being gone for the season, look for those numbers to stay the same or even go up more.
So that's what I was getting at. Now with Hunter gone, there's 62 targets that Hunter Henry got. It's got to go somewhere. I get there's the other guys, the other wide
Mike
receivers.
Williams will factor in
Yes.
some, but not to the magnitude that Keenan
Those
Allen's
guys all
gonna
get a little bit of a bump, to be
Oh,
honest
yeah.
with you. But I think it's Allen who's going to get the bulk of it.
I think Gordon's going to get a huge bump, too.
I think they're going to.
He was the 2nd leading reception guy at 83.
That's what I'm saying.
So
Hunter Henry was primed for a huge year this year. I know you picked him on your bold predictions, and I was
Sorry.
on board with that. Hunter Henry was going
So
to
was
be
I.
top 5. I could see it easily.
Sorry,
But
everyone.
yes, Melvin Gordon and Keenan Allen are going to take huge leaps.
Okay. True.
yes, I bought you. You guys bought me on one.
I mean, when you say Keenan Allen,
Dalvin Cook just scares me. I'm not comfortable with that.
he's not
I love
comfortable. No,
He's not comfortable.
no, he's not. He's very uncomfortable with Dalvin Cook. So
You should get one of these polos.
I got one actually. That's comfortable, but I don't know about wearing Dalvin though.
Oh man! All right, so I put his. I didn't write it down, but I do remember. There is one group of set of players that I am all in on, and they are all my guys. I just don't know if I'll be able to. I would draft them all because you can't have them all on one team. But it would be the Houston Texans offensive skill players. Just saying, Watson.
Except Lamar Miller.
Yeah.
I would even take Lamar Miller. You give me Watson. You give me Hopkins. You give me Lamar Miller. I'll even take Will Fuller late in the draft.
Good, you take them and you'll be in last.
And if they stink, you're going to the to the ram hole.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just saying I would gladly take the punishment on that one. But I'm just saying, I that offense, the
They
potential.
live and die on one guy.
Hey,
Outside of Hopkins, I think Hopkins can survive without
It's
him.
it all depends on Watkins
but I'm
or
all
Watson. God, why do I keep doing that?
Watson.
Sammy Watkins is playing quarterback for the Houston Texans.
Yes. No, Watson is the key factor in the whole offense. However, I am all in on the Houston Texans offense. Any part of that offense I can get a piece of it, I'm all in.
Braxton Miller.
Ooh.
You said any part, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, how about I mention the 4 guys that I'll take at any point? I'll take Watson, Hopkins, Miller,
Foreman?
and Fuller at any point.
CJ Fedorowicz.
He's not even on that team anymore, actually. It's Steven Anderson.
Well, then he just sucks anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyler Higbee, 1 touchdown last year.
Just like you, I'm the exact opposite. I love Detroit. for fantasy purposes.
Yeah,
I
because
would
they're always
really get
playing from behind.
any part of
Boom.
that pie. I want a slice of the pie from Houston in some fashion. I'll take any part of that pie. I'm good.
What about you?
3.14?
Yes. 3-1.
Repeating?
Repeating? All right. So that's
I don't
I'm all in on that. I'm just saying. I know you're all in on the Houston or the Detroit offense, so I'm all in on the Houston offense. It's going to be interesting to see how that. I mean, I'm even all in on the Chargers offense.
Yeah, Chargers offense is looking real good.
I mean, any one of those Rivers, Allen, Mike Williams late. I mean, you really look at it, you stagger the offense. I mean, I'm not putting Lamar Miller in the same talk as Melvin Gordon. I'm just saying you have a good quarterback that you can get late. Watson, you have to take him early. Gordon, you got to take him early. Keenan Allen, you got to take him early. I mean, Mike Williams could be, in my opinion, a steal in the draft late because of just nothing but touchdown upside on a flex play on a week basis. But there's a couple teams that, I mean, I'm really excited about their offense.
Don't rule out Minnesota.
No, Minnesota's in there.
has the
just
potential
gonna
to
be
be a
spread
high
around.
power. Yes,
So
like I said, and all Jordan Reeds and all them, none of them has finished in the top 25 for receivers, top 5 for tight end.
I don't think, but has he had this receiving core? That's what the only thing I've looked back at. He hasn't had this team.
No.
No offense to the Redskins.
No, I get it, but he just doesn't zero in on one. Like last year, Thielen wouldn't have had those graded numbers if Keenan wouldn't have had it.
But Aaron Rodgers is known to throw the ball around.
True.
And he carries, all those guys carry in high values.
Yeah, but their run game sucks.
That's also
Well,
true.
no, but they catch the ball in the backfield, which creates
The opportunity.
value.
All right. So to wrap up,
I'm going to sell them on this before the end of this
we'll
year.
see. It'll be
No.
interesting.
And then when they're in the tank, I'll just eat my own words.
All right.
I don't think Minnesota will be in the tank. I just think
I
Dalvin
meant,
Cook
the
won't be.
fantasy value.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what I meant.
So, to wrap up today, we want to talk about the Listener League that is coming up this year. It will be hosted on the SleeperBot app. Now, the specifications that we do have, for sure.
I must win.
Yeah. You must be following the Hateful Eight Twitter handle, which you'll also need to email us at the Hateful Eight. Man, I just botched it. The Hateful Eight at yahoo.com. Email us there with the subject title Listener League 2008 to show that you're interested. Make sure you include your Twitter handle so that way we know to make sure to look you up because we're going to probably do a Twitter chat like we did last year. You can do your trash talking and everything. And the deadline is July 30th to enter. So last year we had a bunch of people enter in and we had to turn some people away. We actually added 2 more spots, but this year we're just going to do a 12-team half-point PPR to cover the standard and the PPR guys so they're both happy. And we're just going to have one host team this year, so that way it's 11 listeners to be able to enter in to play the host team, or we call it the house.
We better not lose. The house better not lose.
The house never loses. You been
It'll
to Vegas?
be great.
There you go.
That's Tony the Tiger.
That was Tony the Tiger. Frosted Flakes.
I like it. I like Frosted Flakes.
They got chocolate Frosted Flakes now. It's
Dang
kind
it.
of weird.
I'm an OG when it comes to Frosted Flakes. Just
Triple
give me
OG.
Just give me those. So, anyways, we just want to say thanks to you guys for tuning in to today's show. Please check out the site, thehateful8ff.com, where you can check out the articles. This week, Frank Weiss had a cool article. He puts out these backfield layouts for the different, like, running back by committee potentials. So this week he put out the Baltimore backfield.
Minnesota.
You what?
Huh?
What'd you say?
Nothing. I said Minnesota.
Oh.
I just want to see his face.
Crying over here. So sad.
And as well, our apparel. As you can see, we're wearing different shirts. We got
Not
the
really.
polos.
We got the same one.
We got the same one. I didn't wear
Again,
mine.
I'm on my island.
Oh, well.
All about myself.
All right. Follow our personal accounts at jpickle, TH8FF, at jblackburn, TH8FF, and at ftrim, TH8FF. We're active on Twitter and always willing to answer any questions or comments that you may have about the show or anything about your own personal teams that you want to ask us. So don't forget to join the Average Joe Nation via our Patreon tab on the site where you can get the 2018 draft loadout. And finally, make sure you vote for us on the podcast awards. So
Yes.
I'm excited about this.
It's the podcast. It's podcastawards.com, and you sign up. You vote for us under the People's Choice Awards as well as the sports selections. And then there's a little bubble at the bottom that says you would like to be chosen as a voter. So because at the end they choose, like, I forget exactly, it's like 100 or some people at random, and they're the ones that vote for who wins it. So if you'd like to be included as a voter, just check that box at the end and make sure you vote for us. So it's exciting.
We'd greatly appreciate that.
Just to be nominated was awesome.
Yeah.
So we appreciate it.
Year 2.
Year 2. So The season hasn't even started yet. We're on under 50 days, though.
49.
49 as to when we're recording, so it's going to be exciting.
Preseason in a couple weeks.
Can't wait.
Personal draft.
Couple weeks.
Yep.
I got my pixie sticks. I'm ready to.
What?
Just saying. Pixie sticks. Never as a kid, you never snorted a pixie stick? No? Am I the only one that did that
The only thing I did was get candy
I'm
cigarettes.
just saying, I lost a bet once, and somebody told me you had to snort a pixie stick, and it made my nose hurt.
Ooh.
I'm just saying. It was at the pool. I'm not a fan.
Was it the big ones?
No, it was just the little paper ones, and it was a blue raspberry, and I've never been
What'd
able
you do
to.
with those fun packs? You know, you had to stick that white stick in
Fun
there.
Dip.
The Fun Dip. I like
snorting
those.
those,
No,
too?
I'm not snorting those. It was on a bed. I lost. Leave me alone. I was like 12.
It all starts that way.
Whatever. Anyways, you guys suck. All right, we're gonna get into. We're gonna see you guys. I'm done. All right, thanks guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
One more time. There ain't no one like these three. You know you just heard Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli. Give the goods talking about nothing but fantasy football. Yeah, it's your year to dominate and to wear that ring. Prepare for the draft and dial in on your craft. Quarterback, the first round is a good choice, you ask? This guy's got first round pick, a favorite? Not so fast. He failed to tune into Hateful Eight. He's a chump finishing last.
I should have prefaced it was a bet. I'm so sorry.